Hi, everyone. We're so excited for you to join us for session 3 of our series, Finding Creative Purpose, Storytelling, Culture, Joy, and Music Production. We cannot wait to jump in with more exciting, fun, just fantastic creators, and we're going to do that in just a second. But we're so thankful that you're joining us either live today, which may be at the end of a work day, or at the beginning of your day if you're on another time zone. But whether you're joining us live or whether you're joining us at a later date watching this video, we're just so thankful that you're here with us today, excited to jump in and looking forward to sharing in the joy and the creativity that we're going to share, both with our amazing co-hosts and facilitators, but also the creatives and teaching artists that are going to highlight some of their work. And hopefully you in the chat, hopefully you're feeling excited and really enthused about what you're making and what you're creating, and that you're feeling excited to share that with our wider community. So again, really thankful that you all are here. My name is Jess. I am the EDU Partnerships Manager over at Soundtrap, and I have the absolute joy and pleasure of welcoming our co-hosts, Chen and Asante, the dynamic duo of Soul Science Lab. Welcome. So happy you're here.
Jess, always good to see you. Always good to be back at this again. Yeah, we're excited. What more can we say? I'm Chen Lo. My name is Asante Amin, and Jess, again, this is a pleasure. All three of our sessions have been truly dynamic, and we are Soul Science Lab. And of course, if you don't know, if you haven't attended the first 2 webinars by chance, we're happy you're here for this one. But we're Soul Science Lab, a music and multimedia duo powered by my brother Chen and myself. And our whole, spiel, if you will, is about creating a celebrated body of work, but also cultivating the next generation of iconic storytellers and artists. And it's absolutely a pleasure to be here with you all today. So, Chen, how do we like to kick off whatever we do? Anytime we connect, we always like to start it off with a performance, just to let people know exactly what we do. It's like we're educators, but we're definitely artists, and we are encouraging educators to create. Don't forget about your artistic, passion. Don't forget about your artistic side. It's really important, even when you're connecting with young people. So without further ado, let's jump into this performance.
Energy, phenomenal audience at Carnegie Hall, kicking off the Afrofuturism Festival for Black Future Month. Me and my brother just transcended, man. We got our wings tonight, flying away.
Black butterfly, black butterfly. Black as I wanna be. Y'all already know New Orleans, Pittsburgh, New York, Carnegie Hall. They said it couldn't be done. We came and did it anyway. Soul Science Lab.
Make a joyful noise.
I was thinking about this, and really, bro, I'm gonna keep it 100. It's real simple. Being black brings me joy.
I love it.
It's true. Even though it's dangerous sometimes, most of the time it's really lit. You know what I'm saying? And what else brings me joy is the fact that I am my ancestors' wildest dreams.
Wow, that's profound.
So that means I gotta keep having radical dreams for the future.
True.
You know what I'm saying? But I mean, how about you, my brother?
Man, black joy is awesome, man. Black joy is complex as well. I feel like black joy is spiritual. Sometimes black joy comes out of pain.
True indeed.
Black joy is also about resistance for sure. But you can't have black joy without love.
Preach.
And most importantly, black joy is about transformation. And one of the things that brings me the most joy is knowing that our legacy is infinite. To a higher vibration, exodus to a permanent vacation. On deck we escaping, palace in an undisclosed location. Elevating like we going to rapture. Living right now like it's life hereafter. Better bring it on, beast on your path. Boy, higher heights don't know why your life go
So that was Make a Joyful Noise. And Chin, that was our performance, of course, from Carnegie Hall. We did February 3rd. We kicked off the Afro Future Fest at Carnegie Hall.
Right.
And it's so interesting that that's the last song, Anything That I Want to Be, It Starts With Me, because so much of this curriculum and this offering of Make a Joyful Noise started off with this musical idea that we performed. And so it's expanded to educators and their students as well. So that's what that was. Talked about it a little bit, but today we're here to celebrate educators, celebrate students, and celebrate the wonderful world of curriculum and creativity that's come out of this idea. So Jess, again, just talk to us a little bit about what we're here even further to celebrate and what we're going to get into this evening.
Yeah, absolutely. And that performance, every time it gets me dancing in my chair and just gives me chills. So I'm so excited we got to relive that a little bit today. Yes, let's talk a little bit about where we're headed, because I think you all are going to be equally as excited to meet and get to know some of our educators and some of their creative processes today. So we are really excited just to sort of do a wrap up for you. If you're joining us, like Asante mentioned, if this is your first time with us, you're going to get a little bit of a retrospective on what's been going on, but you're still so included and welcome both in today and to jump in. Maybe this inspires you to jump back to session 1 and really explore creativity from the get-go with us. So we'll be starting there. And then we're really, really honored to have some incredible educators in the space with us today. And we're going to get a chance to learn a little bit more about their process. They're going to share more with us in depth about how they move through the curriculum through Make a Joyful Noise, and then how they created the content or the sounds or the, whatever project they decided to. It's going to be a little bit of a reveal, right? We could see some really cool new stuff
Right. Yeah,
we haven't seen yet. So I'm going to be general and say projects, because I'm not sure what it looks like yet. But we're going to go ahead and let them showcase some of their work. And again, if you're joining us and you are here and you want to share some of your work and you want to celebrate with us, please jump in the chat at any time. We're so excited that you're here with us and excited to sort of share in that together. We'll wrap up with thinking about what's next. This is not the end. So we'll talk a little bit more about where we're headed, and then leave time, of course, for anyone to jump in with questions or ask us a little bit more, or talk to the educators about their learnings and takeaways and processes. So really excited to jump in with you all.
Definitely. Thank you for that, Jess. And I think one thing we haven't mentioned yet on this webinar is just how vital and how amazing the partnership between Soul Science Lab and Soundtrap has been. And, Asante and I created the Make a Joyful Noise curriculum, and we had been introduced to Soundtrap, before, and we thought this may be an excellent tool, to use to center in the curriculum, because it's very easy to onboard students into it, to get into the music production and creative process. Later serendipity would bring us all together, and now here we are. But it really is, a great relationship, and works very well with the work that Soul Science is doing, in the way that the Soundtrap platform and team are working to empower young people, creators, and educators in this music production kind of odyssey, really giving people the ability to tell their stories and to create. And so with that being said, let's jump into a basic overview of what we've done over these last 2 sessions, and then we're going to get into some really special and amazing guests. So here we are, finding creative purpose 3, Soul Science Lab and Soundtrap. And so Asante and I, as he mentioned earlier, we created Make a Joyful Noise out of this commission we did with Carnegie Hall. And, it was supposed to just be a show and turn into this amazing opportunity, but we centered a curriculum and educational assets around it. And we were able to build this workbook. And so, the Make a Joyful Noise workbook, first initially was like these 10 videos, but then we created these activities, worksheets, and templates. And like I mentioned before, we centered it with Soundtrap so that young people and educators could very easily connect with this process. And Asante?
Sure. It's crazy, man. As you're talking, I'm getting a little sentimental. Thinking about the fact that this curriculum was actually developed during the pandemic, and it was a response to our inability to actually interface with students.
physically, but it came out of a show. And anything we create, we always like to create pathways into education for young people. And this journey started during the pandemic, and as the world is opening back up again and we're going back outside, this is our last webinar, at least for now. So this is like, it's kind of bittersweet for me to be talking about this. But as Chin said, the workbook came out of that context, but the workbook is a valuable tool within itself, and it's all about storytelling, using the modalities of songwriting and music production. And we can't stress that enough. This is about telling your story, self-expression. And although these things were designed for young people, they absolutely work in anybody's hand to help express and tell their story. But the curriculum includes video tutorials, worksheets, activities, and templates that are aligned to artistic curriculum standards, which was very important for us. Step-by-step instruction for basic songwriting and music production techniques. They contain beat templates that open directly into Soundtrap, as you will see. They integrate with Google Classroom, and it encourages interdisciplinary pathways. And of course, you can learn even more about this at soulscienceuniversity.com. Beautiful. Yes. So one of the first assignments in the workbook, they have to do with centering your mission, understanding what your mission is, because that's very important to us. It's not only important that you learn the technical aspects of this art form, but that you're mission and purpose driven. And so this is one of the first assignments in the book. You know, these are simple statements, but these are statements that you should make your own, and these are mission statements. So a few mission statements that we've developed, they give examples are: my mission is to help people heal through my art. My mission is to share joy through music. My mission is to show people what is possible through art. So we start off with the mission statement and we build on there to writing assignments. Phenomenal. Let's keep it moving. Let's keep it moving.
Definitely. And so these are just other elements of the mission statement we move through. But Asante, what was the first assignment?
So the first assignment had to do with making a beat. You know, after we deal with your mission statement, we wanted people to hop directly in to creating a beat. And so the first assignment was to activate the template, which we'll show in a second. The second direction was to adjust the tempo accordingly. Open a loop bank, use one you like, name it, and then share it with us. So Chin, let's take a look at that slide. I've given the directions, but I think it'll be helpful if we just take a look at it. And so again, the beat template, the first instruction, step one, you'll see at the top of the screen, it says preview the video options to identify your favorite beat. After which you'll click a link from your favorite beat, and then it'll open into Soundtrap, and then proceed to your beat assignment on the next slide. So we don't necessarily have to listen to everything, but let's listen to the trap and the boom bap, Chin, just to give them a taste of what's in this. Boom.
The boom bap. Yes, sir.
Yes. And so you already know, Chin, as you preview those things, you find one you like. If you're a student or you're a teacher, even whoever you are, creative, you find a template you like, you click the hyperlink under that, the how outlined in that aqua green color, and then it seamlessly opens into Soundtrap. We're going to see some examples later on. We're just highlighting the process right now to get through so we can get some of these educators on the screen. So that was your first assignment. Let's talk about assignment number 2, Chin.
So the second assignment, you know, we dug a little deeper. You know, Asante showed you how to produce a track using the templates. And then we have a number of templates that helped educators and students create 4-bar hooks and 8-bar verses. It was all about writing a verse and a hook. And some of those templates look like this. So we have a Brainstorm word wall template that essentially helps you aggregate or bring all your ideas together. It really helps young people, you know, compose all their ideas before they even start writing. And then we had another a really cool template that allows you to assemble your brainstorm words into a hook and a verse. And this is what we call our hook and verse Mad Lib. It makes it very easy, kind of like training wheels. If you have trouble rhyming things at the end, it makes it very easy and very seamless to just get started. And so putting these things together, it's very easy for you to create and compose your first song. And so today, we're going to have a lot of fun. Today is a showcase and celebration. And Asante and I have been working with young people in schools, doing creative programming for a very long time. And one of the things that happens is after you work with, students for a whole semester, and all educators know what I'm talking about, you have to do some sort of culminating event. It's a showcase. Young people are coming to show what they've created and make everybody proud. And that's what we're doing today with 3 very incredible, amazing educators. You're gonna meet some dynamic, illustrious individuals. And so let's see who's first up to get it in. We have the incredible Delia Alexander, who is a music teacher K through 6. She teaches everything from strings to keys. And let me tell you all, she is really incredible, internationally renowned, world known. Everybody should connect with Delia Alexander, and she's gonna come up and show us what she did with the Make a Joyful Noise curriculum and Soundtrap. Welcome, Delia. It's good to see you.
Hi, everybody. Hi. I'm happy to see you guys. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you for that awesome intro.
Oh, for sure.
Thank you for being here.
Happy to do it. I will tell you, it's been such a pleasure to be part of the Make a Joyful Noise program and process. And, when I thought about what I would mention today, I thought I would talk about 2 things. One, how the Joyful Noise curriculum and Soundtrap was of use to me just as a creator. And then 2, the sort of, issues arise as an educator, and how the curriculum and Soundtrap helped me resolve some of those issues. So if that's all right, that's what I'll do.
That sounds incredible. And we actually met Delia doing some workshops with Carnegie Hall, and her reputation precedes her, because when we talk about her with other educators, everybody knows her work, and celebrates her. So Delia, we're excited to hear what you have to share. Show us some of your process and what you went through, to create your amazing piece.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So the first thing that people should know about me is that, I'm an analog thinker because I'm an analog player. My instrument is cello and keyboard, and I was trained to adhere to what's already on the page and to faithfully reproduce what is given to me. So to compose and to do so in a digital space was new for me. And so this curriculum was like very, very instrumental in making sure that I could create anything at all. And it started from the mission statement. So just being able to have that big picture and to have an intention set. So, the big picture for me in the fall when I met you all for this project was I wanted for myself and for my students to recover that feeling of communal creation together. And I wanted to be making music that would expand our skill set. And just as you mentioned, the word wall, super duper helpful. Just to have the structures in place and to have them ordered and to have like limitations were freeing for me. And if I recall correctly, in the workshop, you said, think about it for 10 minutes. And 10 minutes was exactly perfect.
Right.
So I found myself brainstorming along all 3 of these different axes. And I thought at the time that I would care more about everyday culture. But as I let my mind just sort of go through that brainstorming process, I realized that I was thinking about family culture. So I just shared the screen, not for you all to need to read every single word, but just so you can know what the thought process was like and how useful it was to have a place to put those thoughts down. Super helpful.
And really quickly looking at that, Delia, looking at these things is really amazing, because I feel like I know you a little bit more, and I'm seeing things that I identify with in my family culture, my popular culture. So these are kind of great, just empathy building exercises as well. I just wanted to add that.
100%.
doubt.
Yeah, there's definitely
Yeah.
value in sharing these things out in a class. 100%.
Mhm.
So, and then again, to have a template here to sort of plug in the key keywords from my word wall was super useful, and you'll hear it in the when we get to the studio. So, my family is my inspiration. I want to represent for my generation. West Indian immigrants came before me. My people are proud to tell my story. And so those were sort of the key things that influenced my my songwriting and sort of turned into the song. So I'm going to quickly share my my studio now.
Right.
If I
And
can
so,
do that.
had you ever written anything like this before?
I had
Just in
not.
your music career
No,
as a
I
musician, as
had
an educator? No?
not at all. Again, analog, and not only analog Western art music. And when I wasn't being taught to make Western art music, I was I was listening to, you know, R&B, pop. That's where my head was. Hip hop grew up around me, but I couldn't find my space in it. And so, you know, I understand it. Like I remember when KRS-One could get on national television. And you know, now we don't see him because the definition of hip hop got very narrow.
Right.
And when it did, I sort of was like, "Oh, I can't find a space for myself in here." So you know, so I continued to listen to Whitney and Luther and everybody and everybody else that was coming over the radio.
Right.
But I like, you know, I recognized myself in hip hop. I didn't always recognize myself in what hip hop was revealed to us. So if that's clear.
Right. What it was.
Nah, get that completely. And
Yeah.
we hope that, sure, yep, you can definitely, you know, open up the studio whenever you're ready, but
there it is.
These activities are definitely designed, you know, for a scenario just like that. You know, someone who, you know, may not be as familiar, or, you know, like you said, hip hop grew up around you. But this gives you an opportunity to participate and tell your story using this modality in a very easy way. And introduces you to it. So I'm excited to hear what you created, because I know, you know, knowing you, I know it's awesome.
Well, I'll just press play and let me know if you cannot hear it, but you should be able to. Planting is what we eat. Love is what we speak. Guyana is where we're from. Abundantly is how it's done. Planting is what we eat. Love is what we speak. Guyana is where we're from. Abundantly is how it's done. My family's my inspiration. I want to represent my generation. West Indian immigrants came before me. My people proud to tell my story. Planting is what we eat. Love is what we speak. Guyana is where we're from. Abundantly is how it's done. I vote for my family. Living musically makes me happy. Naturally doing it for my culture. 4C here, I thought I told you. Planting is what we eat. Love is what we speak. Guyana is where we're from. Abundantly is how it's done.
So Delia, I don't believe you. I don't believe you say you've never done this before. I don't believe you.
Well, you're very, very kind. I have not done it at all before, but this is the beauty of being part of your workshop, because you brought me through step by step in a way that I could access, even as a person who's not used to thinking as a creator, or certainly as someone who's writing lyrics and someone who does not spit bars regularly. You know,
right.
So I needed that structure, and it was super helpful to me to have it, and it made it really possible for me to do it. I didn't get lost in the sauce. There were no leaps in logic that I had to like cross over by myself. So super helpful.
This was absolutely dynamic, Delia, and I'm a hip hop producer, a composer, an instrumentalist as well. So my hip hop brain hears hip hop in the blues, in bossa nova,
in African religious music, even just the call and response and the different forms. And I think what's really dope and interesting about what you just did is I hear the compositional, the composition skills. I
Okay.
hear the musicality in what you did, and in my opinion, and I think everybody can kind of agree, it even expanded past what most people are going to identify as hip hop, in the musicality, in the form, in the structure. But to me, what ties it together, makes it super dope, is the narrative, the storytelling, and the lyrics. And I think the way you told the story, the way you spit the lyrics, you actually could apply that over a multiplicity of different kind of beats and rhythmic structures, which is really exciting to me. So can you just talk a little bit about,
Thank you.
You wrote the lyrics, but you made it your own. You did your own thing with it, right? Can you talk a little bit about that process and even your approach in terms of the composition and how you approached it?
Sure. Well, once I went through the brainstorming process and I plugged in the pieces into the template, I used the house audio that you all pre-populated with. I didn't even have to search for a loop. The audio was there and it fit perfectly. And so I made sure I no special microphone. I had my earphones in, listened to the click track, which was the house loop, and I laid in my words over top of that. And then I started looking for, a bass line that I could use. And then as part of the workshop, you all suggested, well, there's some horns that you can put in there. And I realized, I wanted a sound that was, again, analog. I wanted to be able to hear, some cowbell, some percussion instruments. And so I found loops for that. And how I did that was I typed into that space. Wait, shall I share it again so people can see what I'm talking about?
Sure, yes. Sure, yeah, the library.
Yeah, the library. And so useful to just be able to click here and literally type in Latin and see how many beats come up, or type in mambo and see, right? So there's a drum for that. And I found some that I use, and I ended up using these. I didn't use this one, I didn't use that one, but I used these. And again, how useful Soundtrap is there. It's relatively intuitive to be able to find it. And so once I got those in, then I had something in. I'll tell you something about I crossed the Rubicon. I don't know, maybe there's another educator out there listening to us who can appreciate this. So again, I was raised to get really, really good at performing the thing. And you will know that you are done when you can play it from start to finish without stopping, with no mistakes. And you can express something, you can make an emotional connection with your audience. That's the ultimate goal. In this space, that's not what's happening. The creativity is happening in the production space, and a performance is not ephemeral. It doesn't happen from start to finish one time. You can continue to create. It's iterative, as you all mentioned, and you are done when you say you're done. And so it means that you reorient your thinking around what the creative process looks like. And so one thing that I would do differently, that I've learned as a result of all of this. So, me, hour and a half trying to lay down these 16 bars because it should be perfect, right? And all for naught, because my vocals were fine, but there's a couple of bars in here that it doesn't quite quantize really perfectly to the rhythms that ended up going next to it. And I want to fix it in post, and I can't, because I made one track, right? If I was thinking about that production space, and I know that there are 4 sections to my song, make 4 tracks, right? So this was a major paradigm shift for me.
Yeah, that's a great note. Like, and so much of, I think, the production and the creative process is just finding out what works for you and being comfortable enough to kind of experiment. But I think what you just highlighted is a jewel of all jewels. The fact that this is an iterative process, that you have to be comfortable with thinking about the performance and the execution in a different way, and then having tools that allow you to seamlessly express yourself. And again, I love the fact that you've done something with the tools in the workbook that I hadn't exactly conceived. We thought of it working one way.
you took that, you ran with it, and you did your own thing, and it's beautiful.
Yeah,
It is.
and I'll tell you the way. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Chenlo.
No, I was just gonna ask you one question.
Mhm.
Had you used Soundtrap before? Like how experienced were you with Soundtrap, and how did this experience kind of change the way that you may use it in the future, particularly when you introduce it to students?
Yes, I had used Soundtrap before. In spring of 2021, I was working with a group of sixth graders. It was an elective, and so they chose the music elective. And the curriculum, I wasn't familiar with the curriculum. I'm not certain that it was available for students at that point. And so what we were doing was kind of onboarding ourselves to the platform, what to do to make it work, how to make it work. And we were able to do that. Soundtrap has a wonderful listing on the website where there are different lesson plans that you can use. So I chose a lesson plan called Looping. I hope I got to remember. It was Getting Loopy is the name of it. And it was teaching the kids to put a melody, put a harmony, put a rhythm. And that's how they onboarded. So how to make Soundtrap go. And the difference between my experience after having been part of this curriculum and before is I feel comfortable now not only telling kids what to do to make Soundtrap work and how to manipulate it, but I also understand where the why you're using Soundtrap comes from. And for me, what made the difference is like once I made my little thing, my little 8 bars, now I had this precious little thing,
Right.
and maybe nobody cares about it but me, but I really care about it and I want to zhuzh it up. Soundtrap has awesome things and I want to add horns and now let me find that other loop, and that was the hook. And the difference was I was tasked to make something, and in the spring of 2021 I didn't understand that that's what the hook was. I was asking kids to manipulate the platform without really telling them why they were bothering. By which I mean, I was telling them why they were bothering, but they couldn't feel it because they were manipulating a pre-existing thing and they need to make their own thing. So
the story piece.
This is it.
That's really amazing.
Tell their story.
That's
super dynamic. Thank you so much. It's fire.
Yeah, Delia, it's been incredible. Thank you so much for sharing. Your presentation was phenomenal. Your work was really dope. It was really cool to see how you activated, the curriculum and the way we created it. And we want to hear more about how this works with students in the future. So I know we'll be in touch. But you've been awesome. And we really appreciate you so much.
Thank you. I'm really happy to have been part of this process. I learned so much. Thank you so much. You've helped me.
Our pleasure.
No problem.
No,
Thank
awesome.
You.
Yeah, man. I mean, look, we're just getting started cooking. That was she set the bar high.
Set the bar high, man. I mean, let's see who else we got. Oh, we can't forget about Dr. Professor, you know what I'm saying? Isabella Mendez. And of course, Chin, we know she's the founder of Isabella Mendez Music, or I'm Music. And again, just to properly bring her into the space, we met her during a series of workshops, music educator workshops as well, teaching hip hop, touching on hip hop, but she took the material and went to the next level, added her musicianship into it. And we kind of been friends ever since. So Isabella, welcome to the space. It's a pleasure to have you. How are you tonight?
Thank you so much. I'm doing great and so happy to be here. This is a real pleasure to be working with you guys. And I'm just grateful for our friendship and for the beautiful work that you have done in this amazing curriculum that teachers and educators can use with their students. So thank you.
We appreciate that so much. And it's an honor to have you, someone that's so talented and that is creative in the ways that you've been utilizing the curricular assets that we've shared. And actually, we wanted to show the people the way that you activated them yourself in the first workshop where we met you. So can we just show a quick clip of you and the way, you took our template and what you were able to do, and you actually shared that with your students as well?
Absolutely.
My name is Isabella Menges, and this is my project for Soul Science Lab. Hope you enjoy it. is what we eat. Portuguese is what we speak. The land of Brazil is where we're from. Having fun is how it's done. Samba is my inspiration, bringing joy for my generation. Through my ancestors who came before me, today I sing to tell their story.
That was amazing.
Dynamic. Really, really, really incredible. You took it to the next level. And now you actually taken the Make a Joyful Noise workbook and you've been activating that with your students at your own studio.
Absolutely. Yes, and it's been really amazing to experience that and to try this within all different age groups. The first group were 8 years old, and it's amazing how much they're exposed to so much technology and how they adapted so quickly to Soundtrap. And they were actually teaching me how to use a few of the features, and it was really great to see that. And then if there's a few pictures of them working through it. If you go to this second slide, you can see the two groups that we had of 8-year-olds and then of 10-year-olds. And we're able to use the curriculum of Making a Joyful Noise. And the next slide, if you go, we talked a little bit about an introduction. I'd love to share that if that's okay.
Do you guys know what any of these words?
And one thing we were thinking about this, we watched this, Isabella. Would it be okay if we move to when you start talking about the actual templates?
Absolutely. Yes.
In this video, I'm going to bring it to about right here, and we'll play it.
You know what they mean by the drum is the heartbeat? The drum means like it's the center of a song if you're playing the drum.
Absolutely. Drum is the center of the song. There's a pattern method.
A pattern. From there, I'll just create a pattern.
And then you see what it sounds like.
Under what sounds like.
Very cool. You can add more kicks, more snare, or hi-hats at a small time. Okay, so you're gonna each learn how to do that. Very groovy.
I like it. I
I
love
can
it.
take these out.
Now, we're going to learn the loop method. So here we have the beat, we have the drums, and we have the piano that was recorded via MIDI. And then we're creating a loop.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really interesting to see how the students really understood the 3 different methods, and then they were able to apply. So we got a group of 2 10-year-olds and then a group of 2 8-year-olds, and they each did their own project and then fill out the production worksheet template and the name of the song, what tempo they used, and which approach they used.
Wow. So these students, you said they were 10 years old. This was a group of 2 10-year-olds.
2 10-year-olds and then another group of 2 8-year-olds.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. What was there? Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say I have so many questions about this. So I'm looking. The group was able to come up with an original composition that incorporated both of their ideas and suggestions and included the use of loop features. And so, yeah, just a little bit about, and I know you have more media, but this is so fascinating. One, getting an idea of how they gravitated to the ideas. Was it a seamless thing? Was it easy? And once they started creating, how easy was it for them? And did they, what was the joy factor? Like, because we call it Make a Joyful Noise, because we want this to have some level of joy and fun about it.
Absolutely. So the 10-year-olds, they were definitely a little bit more savvy in terms of understanding the concepts of the loops and Soundtrap. And I actually quoted one of the students in the video that she said, "Soundtrap is so fun. I'm definitely going to use this every day, all the time, probably too much." So it was really cute. And they're having a really great time. And today, actually, I saw one of the students from the 8-year-old age group, and he brought it up to me and said, "Hey, can I use Soundtrap again for lessons now? Because I was having a really great time finding the beat." And I think that's so important for the joy element and also the pedagogical element of rhythm. This helps them so much to be able to play the song with the beat as opposed to using a metronome. And I think that that's just a wonderful, wonderful tool.
Yes. Yes. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Really great to hear. I'm going to move to the next slide as well.
What we were doing is we were doing this, and then we heard something, and we were like, you know,
And we can listen really quickly to some of what they composed.
Draw no face.
Okay, so let's hear it. Let's hear what it sounds like.
I'm like, hello. Exactly. That's how we get there. It's called track 2. What? Soundtrap. Oh, no. That's the beat. There you go. So we got the beat. This part's gonna be good.
Nice, guys. I love it. And you use the methods, right? You use loops.
Yes, many loops.
So Isabella, now
She said,
it sounds like they used. It sounds like
Many
they were
loops.
using the trap 2 template.
Yes. Yes, so the Trap 2 template, and they incorporated some newer loops and then edited on Soundtrap.
Got it.
What was great about that really quick was the experimentation, the discovery, the joy in discovering something, the joy in creating something at whatever level and saying, I made that. Like, this is cool. And we're listening to it and we're celebrating it. Really great.
Yeah, no. This is so awesome, Isabella. I mean, I want to actually, if you don't mind, I want to go to the last slide you have in this presentation where you really talk about kind of your learnings in this process and let you discuss those, if you don't mind that.
Yep.
Of course. No, happy to.
Let's go ahead.
Yes, we use this. So just a quick summary. We use the Soundtrap tools and the making a joyful noise with the 10 and 8-year-olds. And then since you have this light on the teens, we use the mission statement and the word wall on the teens group. And what I love, even though we didn't get to Soundtrap, what I really loved about the teens group and the Brainstorm wall and the making a joyful noise was how much the students related to it and how much deeper it was. Yes, I like how they don't feel alone and how they share like any anxiety of mental health. And even though those seem all like sad things, they were just really grateful not to feel like they're the only ones that they're having those thoughts and use music to share how they feel. And I think that that's just really, really powerful. And it was a different lesson than the one from the kids, but it was just as valuable.
Definitely. I think you're touching on something really important, just the social emotional value of just creativity and music. But I know in creating this, that was something that Asante and I really wanted to tap into. It's like this gives you an opportunity to express yourself maybe in ways you haven't been able to. And just to be kind of honest, candid, and a little vulnerable in doing it and sharing it with other people.
Yes, and I would just share the last slide because this has been amazing, just having access to these tools that Soul Science Lab has provided. Not only I benefit as a teacher, as an educator, but mostly my students benefit They're given more time to work together using a program that they found fun and exciting. So Science Lab offers these music students of today's world so many ways to practice and working together and creating that teamwork. And we're able to have fun, like you're part of the joy experience, just come together and share music and create unique sounds that they might have not been exposed to in your regular classroom experience. And they also are able to explore the ability to create music in an environment that reflects their current world. They're surrounded by technology every day in their lives. And now we're extending that exposure to music, which is absolutely amazing how So Science Lab has created this template and made it so valuable for the students, for the educators, and for everybody who shares this in the world. So thank you so much. I'm very grateful to be able to be part of this curriculum and be able to continue to share this with my students. And I'm just very grateful for this amazing program.
So super valuable, Isabella. We can't thank you enough. And much like Delia, we love you all because you all are part of that ilk of educators who are also phenomenal artists. You know, you're not music teachers who kind of like left your art form alone, and you're not just doing your art form. You're this hybrid teaching artist, but at a very high and intentional level. And so we love the fact that you've taken to these tools, that they help you instruct, that they help you express yourself. And honestly, we've said it before, we honestly can't really understand the full utility and impact of these things without somebody like you going into the trenches every day with kids and understanding the practicality of it. So thank you. And it's always a pleasure.
Yeah, and I mean, seeing you do this and, you know, having you share it with us is so affirming for us, just letting us know, you know, the value and that things are working. And I know we've had conversations as well about what we can improve, you know, and what could even be better, and other ideas to expand it. And so we just appreciate, like, you know, these things can't work in a vacuum. It has to be activated. You know, you have to see what it looks like with students, and we appreciate you taking the risk and actually doing it. And this is just the beginning, Isabella. You know, we're in this together for the long haul.
I'm learning so much. So yes, thank you for having me.
We appreciate you and thank you so much. It's been awesome to have you. And we'll see you soon.
And we'll be in touch.
We'll be in touch. See you soon.
All right. Chin, I mean, I'm hyped. I like it. I love it. You know, that was one of the quotes we heard, and I'm not alone. You know, these things, like you said, are just like, it's the value of learning how to use the technology, but it's the social, emotional, therapeutic aspect of this that's really like heartwarming as well.
Yeah, man. Go ahead.
Who do we got up next?
Listen, man, we have a superstar. We have a rock star. I mean, we've had a series of rock stars. You know, I mean, this bill has been just packed with amazing talent. Some of you who were at our last webinar, you met Serena Robinette last time. She was incredible and was able to share her process and just her perspective about Soundtrap and the Make a Joyful Noise curriculum. And so she's back, you know, for more, just because she rocked it. So we appreciate you for being here, Serena. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me again. I am so excited to talk and share my music again.
Nah, definitely. So I mean, go ahead, Asante.
No, I was just gonna add that, Serena, you're a little bit of a phenomenon on our social media, because you are one of the from our last webinar. We've been highlighting some of the clips and excerpts of the beat you made and the song you wrote, and the feedback has been really dope and really amazing. So even people on our platform, on our social media, they know who Serena is. You know what I'm saying? You might need a producer. You might need a producer drop for your beats now. You know what I'm saying?
Listen, and if you don't know, Serena is, you know, an education engagement specialist with Soundtrap. And she's been gracious just to continue to give us feedback on, you know, the curriculum and its synergies with Soundtrap. But Serena, it's on you. Let's talk about your process and what you created.
Yeah. So it's funny that, like, I felt so much of what Delia was saying in terms of, I also like grew up and learned through that like Western classical music education. And admittedly loving hip hop, you know, she when Delia mentioned KRS-One, I was like, whoop, whoop. But I never had a chance to engage with that musically. And then, when I became a teacher and I taught music, I did the same things I was taught. Okay, you're going to learn binary, ternary, rondo, and while that was, it was musically valid, it wasn't connecting to what my students listened to, what I listened to, what anyone was listening to. So when we found Soundtrap, my students actually really loved EDM. And so they started realizing like, oh, I can make this stuff that I wasn't able to make on my violin, or on my whatever instrument they were playing, my clarinet. So it was kind of cool, or they could record themselves and then remix it,
Right.
So yeah, and then I also struggled with teaching them, the lyric writing, because I never did that, I could do like a Bach 4-part harmony, but I couldn't write a simple song, with lyrics. And so I think this was really helpful for me because it like made me get my thoughts out, and then it gave me some sort of structure. And so I think I gravitated, like Isabella and Delia, towards that family culture, even though I did create one for popular culture, but I felt, it tugged on my heartstrings more. And so, I used the hook and verse template, and I thought, and it made it so much easier. I think I struggled with fitting it into the beat that I made. And I can share that. And, if I did it again, which I really enjoyed, I would probably change the tempo and change some things around and kind of play with it more.
Sure.
And I will say you all inspired me. I ended up trying to write like a pop song. So I'm still creating like that, like ignited a fire in me. So
I love it.
I'll start with that. Yeah. But I'll share my screen and show kind of the song that I did. So there we go. So I took the trap 2 beat. So this is what it sounded like.
Right.
Yeah, and it spoke to me. And so because I did culture and family, I wanted to tap into like my mom's side. She's from Iran. So there aren't a lot of Soundtrap loops that are like Middle Eastern inspired, but I found this one that I thought was pretty cool.
You know what's crazy, Serena? Like, I never thought about it until now, but it does have an Eastern flavor to it, just as a flute. Like,
and I tried
never
to
picked up.
capture
Yeah,
that.
that's cool. That's so cool. Yeah.
So yeah, again, there's not a lot, so I tried to kind of make do with what I had. But from there, I kind of added some extra loops. And
Serena, that's a bop.
You got it. Yeah, don't rush through that. That's kind of hard.
Thank you.
Yeah, but please go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, and the funny part is, like, I've talked about how I had, taught my students binary form and ternary. This is the same loop the whole time, and it doesn't get old. It's got that, hip hop thing to it. That's the structure, right? And that's different than what I was taught and what I was teaching my students. And they're all valuable, And so then I recorded 2. So I did my family, I did my pop culture. But obviously the family one like spoke to me more. And I actually noticed Isabella mentioned rice dishes. And like mine also mentions that. So it's kind of cool, even though it might be different cultures, it has some of the same elements.
Rice. Yes.
Yeah.
And that's
so
key. And just in helping students connect with one another, right? You get to just learn and discover things about one another that may be different and maybe similar, more similar than you knew. But I want to hear these bars that you spit.
All right. Here's my first attempt at hip hop, at rapping.
My parents are my inspiration. They set it up for my generation. The struggles came before me, so I could share and tell my story. Rice and stuff is what we eat. Farsi English, what we speak. Iran and US, where we're from, mixing cultures is how it's done.
And I just repeated after. But yeah, that's it.
Listen. Come on. So Serena, even given what you said at the top of this in terms of your experience in, really just having like a lot of classical music music experience, but then being exposed to kind of this way of utilizing this tool, through this curriculum and all the things Soundtrap offers. I mean, how has this, one, impacted your own creativity, but two, how do you think this can be useful for other educators in similar classrooms who have had similar experience to yours?
Yeah, I think it's obviously I'm now my creative spark personally has been, inflamed. I'm like now like, oh, I want to write this and I want to do this. But I also think, teachers don't have to be the experts in the room,
that's a jewel.
And I think that was mentioned earlier that, like Isabella said, my students taught me, right? Like, you don't have to be the expert. You can be trying things out and learning things alongside students. And this makes it a lot easier. So you're not overwhelmed and stressed. You're like, okay, we'll do it together. Here's the template that Soul Science Lab created, and you can kind of work on it with them. So I think that's really valuable.
That is really valuable. And I think, again, that gets in, Delia talked about hip hop, but many people don't know about foundational hip hop principles. And actually this notion that education happens inside of a cipher, a circle, or the community is very important to the foundational aspects of hip hop. And I love that in a way, this workbook and this process is surfacing the opportunity to delve into those principles. Quick question. I really think it's wonderful that you've been trained as a classical musician in traditional Western musicality. And Delia actually everybody, I think this is why we kind of gravitate towards you all. It's the musicianship for us. Can you talk about, I guess, the intersection, the integration, even going forward? This spark has been ignited. What kind of integration of these styles can you see? Because that would literally be your story now in terms of, I come from one place, but now I understand storytelling and hip hop. How can these tools be used to kind of integrate both of these modalities of learning and genre, in your opinion?
I mean, I think we're seeing it a little bit now. I believe there's the Grammys now have violinists playing hip hop songs and things like that. And that's something that I did a lot with my students was like, here's my little tiny band. They're going to play a Jaden Smith song. But with Soundtrap, it makes it easier because students can play their instruments. They can record their audio, just like I recorded my rapping. They can record themselves playing their instruments. They can remix it and update it and make it a thing. And they can kind of engage with both. And not diminishing any of them, right? You're not doing it you're not saying classical isn't good. And you're not saying that, hip hop isn't. You're saying both are great and combining them. I mean, you mentioned it earlier, Asante, you still love hip hop, but you combine it with all these other cultures and other music styles. And that's the coolest thing.
Yeah.
It's the coolest thing.
It is. I mean, I think even for Asante and I, one of the ways that we've even used hip hop to introduce our students to other forms of music is, hip hop samples a lot of different genres of music. And so, because you can then use hip hop to deconstruct or just connect, to something that might be more classical, traditional, or, just a little more old, that young people need to still be connected to know the roots and origins of things. They work together in a symbiotic way. So is it, and I love it. I love what you're saying, because what it sounds like to me is that you are able to express multiple dimensions of yourself in one thing, that you don't have to compartmentalize it here, but this, this kind of approach and these tools, between Soundtrap, the templates, the curriculum are allowing you to make this gumbo, that reflects more of who you are. So that's really powerful.
Yeah. And I feel like, evidenced by those templates, we all spoke about our culture, our families, our life, not only your musical interests, but also your personal, your who you are, your identity.
Right.
That's I'm gonna send you a beat. You just reminded me I made, because I love Beethoven and Tchaikovsky and Debussy and all of these people, and they actually inform the way I make hip hop. Funny enough, so it literally is a thing. Delia just wrote something in the chat. It literally is a thing for us and me and people who love music.
it's a and, it's not or. We don't have to pick anything because all of these things speak to who and what we are. But I want to share this beat. I'll send it to your email because
Yeah,
I
please
literally
do.
tap in. I sampled some Beethoven, but I put it with some break beats, and it's slapping. I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of crazy.
Love
So
that.
I know, I know we're at time, Chin. So it's like,
Right.
where do we go from here?
I mean, Serena, one, we say thank you. We appreciate you so much for jumping in again. I know this is just the beginning for us. We're gonna have, just like everyone else, Delia and Isabella. This is a long-term working relationship because the synergies are there, and you add so much value to what we're doing. So thank you again, for being here and sharing your experience. It's been invaluable. We want to bring Jess back on as we start concluding, what we're doing. Jess. You've been in the green room just checking it out. I hope you've been having a good time.
Oh my goodness. If you all could see me dancing over here, I have not been able to sit still today. This has been the best celebration, and I think my cheeks hurt a little bit from how much I've been smiling. But
I love it. That's a good thing.
Yes, it is a good thing. And I just think about all the people that we didn't even get a chance to highlight today. I just think about all the educators and all the creatives and teaching artists who had these joyful experiences. So I think about sort of that ripple effect and the amplification of what's to come, because of course we got to experience Serena and Isabella and Delia's joy. I mean, honestly, I felt like the bystander of the best joyful space today. And so I know teachers sort of have that feeling when they get to see their students thrive. It's sort of watching that same space, that same explosion of energy and thought and creativity that gives us all that fuel to keep going, right? I mean, we are so thankful for teachers. It is Teacher Appreciation Week right now. So if you're joining us in post viewing sessions, please know that we honor you this week, but every week. And we're so thankful for all the work that you do. And so what's next is really, I think this is a sneak peek of what's to come next. I mean, we're seeing teachers push their own creativity. We saw educators take a leap of faith today, share a little bit of their own vulnerable creative space. I think that's something that we're excited about. And we're excited to think about, I think Asante and Chen, you mentioned it a couple times, the teaching artist.
Yes.
It's this both. It's this and not or. It's how do we honor both spaces in both places and let them live together? I mean, it was so cool to see Isabella show her own work to her students and sort of bring them into the fold with that. So I think we're excited to sort of lean into that. And so this is the beginning. This is, again, like we talk about, this is not the end. This is how do we enhance and continue to build our musicality together? How do we talk about this storytelling and this voice and this powerful sort of space and place that we're hearing kids, even from some of those screenshots that Isabella shared, kids are ready and willing and eager to share. So how do we give them more? How do we build on that? So yes, they have a space and a place, but how do we give them more of that? And how do we amplify that for them for the long haul? So they are lifetime creators. I hope that feels exciting to you. I hope that feels exciting to everyone listening. Because I am just amped up to see more and more creators and teaching artists sort of get a chance to celebrate like today.
Yeah, no, it's a big deal. I mean, we've been doing this since October. Here we are in May, of 2022. And again, this is just the beginning, but it's been a joy to be able to celebrate, educators in this process, because it just gives us an indication of what's possible and what's to come. The more that we invest and the more that we just nurture this space. So I'm super excited and feel amazing about it. Let's see what we have coming up next as we wrap up. For folks that are there, I know we had planned on doing, a Q&A. I don't know if we necessarily have time for a full Q&A. I know there's some FAQs just that you shared that I think would be cool for people to just see in terms of Soundtrap. Because I think it's really important just to get people on board and onto the platform so they can even begin to engage in this process. So I'll let you just mention these briefly if you don't mind.
Yeah, of course. So if you're new to Soundtrap, if you're excited by what you're seeing from these creators sort of live and breathe in that digital creative space and using that storytelling and sort of the framework of songwriting, you are so welcome to join Soundtrap. We are so excited about the possibility of you getting, your own creative energy flowing and getting excited about what that looks like. So usually the first question is, how do I sign up? Right? That's right. Got to be your go-to. If you haven't already, you can check out soundtrap.com/edu. So that is the space and the place to get a trial started. And it is a free trial. We can get you started with your students and yourself to sort of explore, see if you like what you're seeing, get a chance to sort of dabble a little bit. And I know some of our educators talked about that, like how you might try something like getting loopy or another just sort of like immersive experience to try the studio, kind of click all the buttons. That's always usually a really good thing, to just sort of click the buttons and sort of be experimental in checking out a new space or a new studio. Your students, you can roster them in a few ways. You can, of course, use an LMS like Canvas or Schoology. So if you have classes and coursework already organized, of course you can do that. Same thing with Google Classroom or Microsoft Teams. So all of that is possible. So you're not clicking and adding students one by one by one. We don't want you to spend your time that way. We'd much rather have you be creative and lean into the curriculum content that we're sharing today, more so than focusing on the logistics. But you can make assignments. So maybe your first assignment is creating your mission statement. Maybe that is your first assignment in the studio, to record your voice talking through, like Asante, when you read through the 3 mission statements. Maybe that's the creative space and place where you set up your first assignment. So you make assignments that you can share with your students directly, whether it's to a whole class or a group, or however you want to break that out. But those are our most commonly asked questions for getting started. So all of that is to say we are here and on board to help you and support you along the way. But those are some things that typically come up when you're new to the studio.
Dope. Thank
Super
you
dope.
so much for sharing that, Jess. Definitely. And, as we wrap up and get ready to conclude, again, as Jess said, jump in on Soundtrap. She gave you some cool instructions on how to, just register and just get yourself and your students started. If you want to register for, the Make a Joyful Noise curriculum, you can head to Soul Science University and check it out there. Actually, if you scan this QR code with your phone, it'll take you to a series of links that will lead you there to actually all of these options. In terms of all the things that are available at Soul Science University, you can use the code CreateJoy22 just to get 10% off of everything. And also sign up for our newsletters. Connect to the Soul Science Lab newsletter. Connect also to Soundtrap's newsletters, or check out the blog that they have, because they're constantly updating it with tons of information and resources for educators around using the platform and other success stories, in their educator community. But this has been. Go ahead.
I was going to say another important thing, Chin, is for people, in case you didn't miss it, in case you did miss it, or in case you want to see recaps or highlights or excerpts from this webinar, we're going to archive those things on our YouTube at Soul Science. And of course, we'll share those things with Soundtrap as well. They'll blast it through their platforms as well, just so we can stay up to date. You may, sometime next week, you may want to go back to an idea for a lesson plan as you conclude and end the school year, and we want to be able to assist you with that. But again, in closing, just want to express gratitude to Jess and Serena and the wonderful team at Soundtrap for literally making a dream come true. This was a dream and an idea and a vision we had a year and a half ago to work with you all and to bring these webinars to educators, and we've worked to do it. It's absolutely phenomenal. Thank all of the educators who showed up and not only used the platform, but as Chin said, affirmed us in our purpose, affirmed us in our work to make this possible. It's daily in the building. And everybody who just joined us today, wherever you are, we thank you, appreciate us. And like Chin just said, let's stay connected. Like, why let the fun end today, right now? Let's keep this thing going,
Definitely. And expect so much more, So once again, thanks to the Soundtrap team. Delia, thank you so much for being here and for sharing your experience. Serena, you're awesome. Jess, we appreciate you. We have so much more work to do. And my brother, Asante, one half of Soul Science Lab. Again, this has been a dream, and it's been amazing to bring this dream to fruition. And we'd be remiss if we didn't also thank a person who you don't see, who's behind the scenes making all of this work. Our partner Brandon is doing such an amazing job of making sure things are working and running smoothly. So thank you, Brandon, and we appreciate you all. And we'll be in touch. Definitely. Everybody,
Have a
please
good
take
night,
care.
everybody.
Be well. Peace.
Peace.